Hello! It's a new day. Same me. Let's talk about Piranesi. I finished. Okay, I'm so sorry that it's taken me so long to do these book reviews, but I've been really busy. I'm sorry. But I loved this book, you guys. Piranesi. I read this a couple of months ago now, and it's really funny. I went to get my hair done back. So this was end of February. I get my hair done as little as possible. You might have noticed my YouTube videos. My hair will start like here. And then over the next 4 months, 6 months, maybe, let's be honest, 6 months, it gets down to here and then it goes back up. So every 6 months, my hairdresser yells at me and says, please come in more often. Your roots are down to here. It's getting embarrassing. However, I was in there at the end of February and we were talking about books, and she said, I forget even how we got on the topic, that caused her to specifically recommend Piranesi. But I guess maybe she had just read it or something. And I said, Piranesi, no, I've never even heard of that. And I said, who wrote it? And she said, Susanna Clarke. And I'm like, that name sounds really familiar, but I'm not sure. I was like, I'll check it out. She's like, okay. So she finishes cutting my hair. And then like 3 blocks down the street is one of my favorite used bookstores. So I pop in and I look through Susanna Clarke. Here we go. Pull it out. Piranesi. Author of Jonathan Strange and Mr. Norrell, which was like my top favorite book, whatever year that came out. I read that and I loved it. It's very long and very in-depth world building, so it gets a little like overloaded sometimes, but I really enjoyed its portrayal of magic in a real world situation. I like magical realism in general. And so I was like, okay, yeah, I'm buying this on the spot. So, and then I went back to my hairdresser. I was like, she wrote Jonathan Strange and Mr. Norrell. You should read that if you like this, I guess, because it's really good. And she looks at me, she's like, did you just go out and buy that because I recommended it? And I was like, yeah, it was like $2. So I love a good used bookstore. Anyway, Piranesi, loved it. So this is one of those books that thrusts you into a very strange world, and it's a little disorienting at first, which I don't love. I like to have my feet on the ground when I start a book. But in this case, I literally knew nothing going into it except for that my hairdresser liked it, and this is the same author of another book I liked. So, and I'm kind of glad for that. And so I'm going to keep this review pretty, very non-spoilery, actually. But Piranesi is the protagonist and the unreliable narrator in this book. And I don't think that's giving away too much. It's pretty obvious early on that this person is unreliable because they seem to exist in a strange labyrinth of marble statues, and they don't seem to have any memory of how they got there. And there's another person in the labyrinth with them who seems to have seems to be more of a complete person than our narrator. And, yeah. So, and there are tides inside of this labyrinth where every now and again, water rises up through the various chambers, flooding it. And the narrator lives by fishing and, collecting mussels and things like that. And, it's very weird. It's a very strange world, and it really drew me in very quickly. Like, what's going on here? And the narrator is very, what's what's the word I'm looking for? Like I identified with them somehow, despite them being very almost childlike and naive, but I was rooting for them from very early on. And I gotta say, like, once again, it's a very different book from Jonathan Strange, but Clark is just so good at world building, I think, and making these magical worlds within our own world, which I love. Like, I'm fine with a fantasy or a science fiction book, but I really love a like weirdness, like a magical or fantastical element that's within a realistic, real life world. And she has done that in a way here. And again, I don't want to give away too much. I really recommend you just pick this one up and dive in if this sounds like the sort of thing that would interest you. And yeah, it's been, I actually took this on vacation to Hawaii in March, and I was planning, because it was a used book, I was planning to just drop it off at another used bookstore in Hawaii, so I would be a little lighter on the way home. But I actually enjoyed it so much, I think I want to give it another go at some point. I hung on to it. Although first, I passed along to my sister-in-law, who also read it in a few days and also really enjoyed it. So, yeah, it's also, I mean, there are larger themes, and that the reason why I bring up wanting to read it again is because I'm like, okay, it's time to talk about the greater themes in the book. And I'm like, but I can't really do them justice because it's been so long since I've read it now. I've read like 4 other books since then that, I want to read this again to like fully digest those themes. But I suppose if I were to try to remember and throw out a few, I would say, it's maybe about the things that in our life that we hold to be valuable and the goals we have in life that we choose to pursue. And, and like how important it is to hold on to the things that are valuable, and also maybe the importance of the connection between humans, finding connections and holding on to those connections. And I guess also about how we connect with the past and how we relate to the past and how our memories of the past change it. So, and also maybe the danger of being too invested in the past and maybe wanting to hold on too dearly. Maybe. I could be wrong. I don't know. Have you read it? Let me know your thoughts in the comments. But yeah, I really enjoyed it. Highly recommend this one. I'm going to give it a reread. So that's it. Thanks.